So, a very good evening and a warm welcome to all of you joining us tonight at this interesting session on MBA programs in Europe. My name is Sumit Rai, and I will be your host for the next 60 minutes. And I've been joined today by Oliver Matthews, an esteemed guest from all the way from Germany, who is an expert in itself. I could go on and on talking about his profile. You know, been doing setting up MBAs at universities to running an entire academic center to a lot of other things which is in his profile. But right now or today he joins us as an expert on AI and the age of AI and how the MBA education is evolving in this space in this arena of AI. So he will be with us, taking questions, giving us an update around MBA, how the international centers and management schools across Europe are adopting AI, how this is getting reflected in the curriculum, in the new age teaching, and what you should be aware of before you sign up for these MBA programs in Europe, and how it's going to be probably altering your career landscape with the advent and adaptation of AI across all the field, all the verticals of the industry. So this and a lot more we are going to cover over the next 60 minutes. You can keep yourself muted. You can keep putting your questions in the chat, and once asked or invited to speak, you can unmute yourself and speak as well. But for the sake of the flow of the program of the webinar, keep putting your questions in the chat. I am also being presented here with few members of my team, and which is Alpna and Abhishek as well, who could also be answering your questions within the chat if required. Otherwise, we will be taking all these questions during the live session when Oliver presents his case on the possibilities of this MBA programs in the age of AI. Oh, yeah. So I think we can straight away start while the guests are still joining, but I think we can respect the time today and start on time. So let's move on. I hope you all can hear me, can see my screen, and everything is fine with respect to the technology. If it is, then just give me a thumbs up, and I think that should be fine for me to understand. Okay, super, super. So let's move on. Uh, or before I move on, probably I would, quickly invite Oliver already since he is here. Oliver, we're going to set up the context around MBA in Europe and the age of AI. You are an experienced person in this entire field into the management education. You work, with a lot of management schools with different leaderships. How are you seeing this AI, evolving, getting adopted, and how the management schools are preparing themselves? Uh, are they aware? Are they scared? Are they slowing down, or are they fast pacing around adopting this? What is the overall scenario in Europe?
Okay, thank you. It's a very mixed field. I think probably the biggest indicator is that um, as part of the work I do, I go to a lot of conferences, business school conferences, from Equus, AACSB, Amber, GMAC, all of the big players. And every conference these days tends to be business education and AI. It's almost like AI has taken over the discussion in business schools. And what I see is that there's a small group of leading schools, not necessarily the highest ranked, but they're leading in AI, in implementation, in the programs, the opportunities, the also how they deliver their education. AI is really being front loaded into how they do business. And then you have a middle group of schools who are very much still on. They have AI licenses, institutional licenses available, and then there's a big tail who have done very little. And yet you'll still see, in spite of the fact they've done very little institutionally, you'll still see that they have AI dropped into program names and module names. So the interest is there, but the universities are not all necessarily moving at the same speed.
Mm. So that's so okay. So I think the top ones probably are moving fast in this field and adopting to
They
stay
are.
well
Yeah.
and ahead of the race, while the other one are still feeling through, and probably few are already thinking that is this is a bubble and it will just pass by or something
No,
like this.
actually, no, I mean, in spite of all the discussion about there being a bubble, no one believes that AI as a technology is going to disappear. There is across the industry clear acceptance that it's going to stay and interest in embedding it and working with AI. But there is a question mark about how to do this, what technologies are actually worth embedding, what learning experience can be integrated with AI, how do we retain critical thinking of our students? And this is a really big topic, this avoidance of addiction to using AI. So the institutions don't want to see uh, students coming in, putting case studies into ChatGPT, processing and submitting the results with a little bit of a tweak. That no, the point is how do you take students and enable them to function better, to retain their ability to judge, to think critically while using technology. Uh, it is a really big discussion. This seepage of AI into study habits. It's both an opportunity and a problem, and that's why schools are maybe a little bit slower on the uptake. They're looking into how to change assessments. They're looking into how to generate course materials using AI, but without losing their academic integrity. But there's the fear that too much AI is going to make education irrelevant, which I agree with. The more AI is used in both the teaching and the learning and the assessment, the less relevant an MBA, for example, becomes.
Which is actually the core of our discussion today. What happens to
Yes.
MBAs if everything is being taken over by AI? So let's deep dive into. Thank you for this opening remarks, Oliver. We'll continue our
You're
discussion as
welcome.
we move into the presentation, and I'm sure your experience and your thoughts around this will help a lot of the students who are still believing that MBA is the way ahead, is the way forward to probably a very fulfilling career in future. So let's dig deeper on this and see what comes out. Okay. So I think for the sake of people who have joined just now, we have Oliver Matthew with us, joining us live from Germany and talking about everything around MBA and the relevance of AI, or the extinction of MBA in the age of AI. So this and a lot more we will be covering in the next 60 minutes. Thank you for joining in and taking time out today. And let's go straight into the topic. So the next slide, what you see in front of you is we're talking about five out of 10, European schools have FT Global MBA ranking 2026. So, NCR is the global number two MBA program. What is happening on the geopolitical side, you probably all aware of regarding that, we call it a Trump bump. Basically, everything has been bumped up by Trump with regards to the visas, with regards to uh, the applications, with regards to all that job scenario and that green dream which everybody had, that to come to US and then have that absolutely fulfilling career with dollars and everything around. I think this Trump's policies and his next this term for Trump has created a lot of those issues, especially for the Indian working class. I would especially talk about Indian working class because we are the maximum represented into any industry in US. Also, the number of students, we top the number of students globally coming to US for higher education, and then moving into the workforce. All those has significant, so Trump policies have significantly impacted, so much so that people are really wary whether I should still pick US, even if I get an admission to Harvard or Columbia, do I still go to US? Because everybody is uncertain about the future. Whether these policies will change in 3 years from now or not, we have no idea. Whether some, another hard line, or maybe, JD Vance wins the next election and he continues the policy of Trump, we don't know. It's America first. It's everything which is going in that direction. So there's a bit of that scare going around, coming to US even for an MBA program. Similarly, consulting and finance pipeline, we talk about, London Business School dominates finance placements. NCR is number one feeder for McKinsey. BCG, Bain, globally, HEC Paris own French and European corporate strategy. These pipelines are decades deep. So what also happening is that when people are picking up Europe, and especially if you're talking about making careers in consulting finance and in this size, the top ones are dominated. The top ones are dominated by European schools. All these names which you just read is actually the place where a lot of people go, and they kind of secure as well in terms of what is the ROI for them if they pass out from, let's say, LBS or HEC Paris or NCR, uh, kind of secured future which lies ahead for them if they pick up Europe over the US because of all the policies going around. So I think good possibilities. We talked about Trump bump. US visa uncertainty is driving applications to Europe. This is a real fact. Applications are so European schools are filled with applications, especially applications from India as well. The other day, I was talking to Oliver around these applications. He says, the schools are filled with applications. They have no dearth in selecting which Indian applicant they want to pick, and there's lot of interest from India in Europe at the moment. So a lot of positives for us as well, but at the same time, more the applications goes to European schools slowly and steadily. Also now I could say the European schools becoming uh, selective as well in terms of accepting the applicants. Probably the quality of the applicants as well is what they could pick up. Great advantage in Europe versus US probably is we have short term MBA programs in Europe, and roughly starting with 10 months to 16 months max, or 18 is the highest or probably longest duration MBAs which are present. I remember clearly when Oliver was starting an MBA program at Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, probably 13, 14 years back, when we talk about this. This was a At that time only, Oliver was very clear that the program has to be short and crisp, and he launched this fresh 10 months MBA program at Frankfurt School. I mean, that's how it got started. So back then also, the idea was very clear. The MBA program is for somebody who has already spent some years in the industry and want to now get come back to the academia, improve their skills, learn something more around management, because they are now looking to move into middle or senior level management. Take time out, learn this new tricks for 10 months, 12 months and max, and go back to the industry. So that's how most of the European MBAs are being conceived across the top quality MBAs offered by NCR, HEC, or London School, versus when you talk about doing this from an US school, which largely is a 2 year commitment. So that's an advantage, because you finish early and then you start early in terms of your career once again, going back to the industry, and probably at the same level of salary package, which you would otherwise start doing a 2 year MBA program from the US. And that's the advantage. Interesting part, AI integration leading, and that's what I think the current topic for today's session is. Who is leading this? IMD. So this is IMD Lausanne. It's in Switzerland, and this is the place which is leading, as per Bloomberg report, that they are the one leading the AI in an MBA. They have introduced the integrated curriculum. NCR, LBS, IE Business School, IE is in Spain, are embedding AI strategy, Gen AI tools, and digital transformation across all MBA tracks. So these are the early adopters. These are the top-notch business schools also in Europe, offering cutting-edge MBA program, and they are the one who is leading from the front, as rightly pointed out by Oliver in the beginning, that there are people who are adopting it, but then there are people who are still slow and they're still thinking whether to adopt this AI integration or not. But sooner or later, I think this has to be adopted in India. So far, what I can see, leaving aside probably some of those top places where we go for our MBA program, sort of those IIMs and ISBs, leaving aside those, the top tens, I think rest of the schools or universities in India are still not responding with that speed to adopt AI curriculum within their MBA tracks. They are still, you know, because of the regulations and because of the approvals, which generally takes for them to launch immediately, it is going to take little more time when all the schools in India are able to adopt fully the AI part into their curriculum. And the third part, we're talking about 10 months. So probably NCR MBA completed in 10 months versus 2 years for a US MBA, 90% international classrooms, and Indian applicants. Indians are the number one or number two nationality at NCR, LBS, and HEC Paris. GMAT score has been written around an average of 700, with 4 to 6 years of experience in IT, consulting, or finance is highly competitive. So the point is, what is it? What is it which is look at Indian applicant? What is their average experience? What is the average GMAT score? And what you should be targeting which schools you should be targeting if you are especially looking at, consulting or finance side. So which are those top MBA schools for you? I think is also what we're going to discuss in our next slide. And then I think we will move on to our discussion on the AI. So these are some of those top European business schools which we have listed down for you here. We looked at NCR, IESC Spain, IMD Business School. The cost is this is the fees which has been listed down, but on an average, if you have a good quality of application, then some of these fees is subsidized. These business schools are little generous in offering good scholarship for the right candidates. So generally, the costs do come down, but this is the listed price which you see in front of your screen. London Business School, HEC Paris, Cambridge, all these are top places. You probably want to take a screenshot of this slide, because it does talk about which are the companies which are hiring from these schools, what is the AI integration currently going on, who are the people who are joining these business school. Probably we see most of them are from India. Average GMAT score, and how is the overall acceptability. So take the screenshot of this slide, which will be very helpful for you in the future to compare. But these are the top six places. I have no program list here from Germany, but Germany do has a couple of the top-notch MBA programs which is being offered. I know I can name it for you. It's ESMT Berlin, Frankfurt School of Finance and Management, Mannheim Business School, Otto Beisheim School of Management. So these are the top-notch 4 or 5 MBA offering programs in Germany. So for all of you who understand that coming to Germany is a zero cost game, then it is not true. For MBA programs, you got to pay a tuition fees across public or private universities. Wherever you go to study an MBA in Germany, you would pay a minimum tuition fees, right from 6,000 euros and can reach up to 40 or 50,000 euros for a crisp 1 year MBA program. So keep this in mind. MBAs are not free anywhere in the world. If you are lucky enough to get a scholarship, that's perfect. Otherwise, you have to prepare accordingly. The ROIs are excellent. In fact, when you spend that money, the return on investment is quite good. Within a year or 2 year, you recover all your money, what you spent. And that is the positive part about doing a global MBA. So here I will now invite Oliver. We have listed down some of these topics, the concerns, what is AI disrupting, and what are the opportunities. So I will read these concerns, and I will then, take an input from Oliver. What does he think? How true are these concerns, and how is the overall industry especially while we are talking about Europe, how this industry, how this is impacting in Europe, and if there is a larger view across different geographies, you know, welcome to have that as well from Oliver. So, Oliver, over to you. My first concern, which has been listed here, analyst and associate roles, entry level consulting and finance roles, exactly where MBAs used to land, are being compressed by AI. Goldman Sachs, McKinsey, and BCG have all reduced analyst hiring since 2024. How true is that? And are you seeing this in your discussion and talks across the business schools or conferences?
Yes, yes, it's true. Yes, it's a discussion point. And yes, I'm not surprised. I mean, uh, it doesn't mean that jobs are disappearing entirely, but there is a big reorganization in how companies hire. Uh, there are mistakes being made as well. There are companies who have laid off large numbers of entry level staff, juniors, and then realize that AI isn't as good as they expected, and now they're trying to hire some of them back again. There's companies who cut their analyst level, like Goldman Sachs cut the analyst level because what they found was by building an internal AI support with their entire repository of knowledge and data, it was a lot quicker and more accurate at retrieving the data. They said, wonderful, we don't need an analyst to spend 48 hours researching a specific topic and giving us half an answer. Uh, so yeah, they cut those analyst roles. They don't need as many. The downside, which they also found pretty quickly, is that if you don't have enough analysts coming through that process, and the analysts are forced to read and research over and over again the history and the knowledge of the company, they neither grow their knowledge base, their own judgment, their own awareness, nor do you have enough people performing in order to like weed out the bad ones and identify those few nuggets to move through to the partner level at the top. So they're basically killing their process of developing future middle and senior staff. And this has been replicated in many companies where they've started to look at, okay, well, we can't, we don't necessarily need analysts doing the old analyst job, but we still need a mechanism for bringing juniors into the company. So what we're seeing, and this, you can look at this in any industry, whether it's finance or the consultancy, auditing, but also in industrials, in supply chain, all sorts of reasons why AI is taking some very repetitive, lower level roles. And these same industries are trying to discover how to hire differently. They're looking for different skills, different types of people, uh, and they're reshuffling the deck. But for sure, at the moment, we're seeing some drop off in the availability of roles. Certainly in Europe and the US, there is a shortage of new jobs being created.
So the job roles are getting rewritten at the entry level. So not exactly what has been
Mhm.
published. There has to be some way out to get them on board.
Yeah, exactly.
Mm, mm, mm. So
Yeah.
I think this is true. I what you just said. I think absolutely how a lot of industry probably here in India also is behaving in a similar fashion. That entry level, in what to what extent now we need to have them trained or needed, but this is getting really curtailed to an extent. Uh, the next concern which has been listed here is case study skills devalued. If ChatGPT can structure a case in 30 seconds, is a $100K
Mhm.
MBA still worth it for analytical training alone? This is a central question every MBA applicant must answer honestly.
Mhm. Yep. Yeah, I mean this is what I referenced actually at the beginning. Uh, it it might be a concern for MBA applicants and students, but it's equally a concern for the business schools, maybe more so. The schools that haven't adapted are missing like a huge problem because if you run your teaching, your MBA in the same way that you did 5 or 6 years ago, you hand over a case study a Harvard business case to 30 people, you know that at least 50%, maybe 75% of those students now will drop it into ChatGPT or Claude, even
Mm.
though they're not allowed to, even though there are copyright issues, even though there's all sorts of legal and also ethical questions on it, it still gets dropped in for quicker processing. Now, how do you make sure that a student has not just read it, but has actually understood and thought about it? And it's an act of thinking which is critical. And if a university doesn't adapt then its assessment process, if the assessment process is submit a written response to this case study and then present your findings to the class, who's to say that that one student has actually thought about it, has understood, and they're not just presenting to you what ChatGPT told you was the answer and getting maybe an average, maybe a good grade, who knows? But universities are all trying to figure out now, how do we redefine our assessment process so that we actually measure critical thinking without getting rid of AI? And that's the hard part. It's easy for a university to say AI is illegal, we're banning it, but that's counterproductive as well. Firstly, because there is no effective measurement of or a way of doing that aside from going back to pen and paper exams and then oral examinations. But also, the companies, we know the employers are asking students to come out with core skills on how to use AI, how to manage AI workflows, how to integrate it effectively, and to be able to spot problems in AI generated materials and output. So we're expected to deliver graduates who are competent, who can recognize hallucinations, who understand how Gen AI is processing information and how it's generating its outputs. So this has to be a part of the curriculum. So it's a question of how do you ensure that people keep thinking for themselves, and how do you assess that? So you highlighted a few of the schools like IMD have completely revamped. I did a project with IMD looking at this. Had a great few days on campus with them, looking at all the stuff they've done with AI in the classroom. Uh, and even for them, they are still struggling with this issue of the simple element of critical thinking. How can we ensure that that person used their brain? It's very difficult. And they're one of the leaders. I mean, IE also are doing a lot of work on this. I did a project with Nanyang in Singapore, redesigning their whole modules on how to grade the prompting and the examination of the prompt versus its outputs, rather than a traditional method of case study answering and presentation. There was a whole grading structure built on how to prompt and how to interpret variations of prompts. So that's you have to think around the box. And this is the sort of thing that students should be talking to their universities about as well. When you're applying to university, you've got that conversation. You've applied for an MBA with AI in the title. It sounds amazing, but have they basically given you a ChatGPT edu license? Have they given you uh, the option then of saying, oh, ChatGPT or Claude, or are they actually taking this seriously and have they really redesigned their experience so you gain value out of this? These are expensive opportunities. You need to get value for money.
Mm. Mm. So yeah, I think there's going to be more learning as we move along this next minutes. There's a lot of good input coming in. Probably half of the people who are here tonight might even be the case that they drop looking even at doing an MBA at this point in time. We don't know, but what's going to be the scenario after the end of the session. But these are real insights which are coming out from an expert who is actually designing the MBA program for these top-notch institutes. So, my dear friends, sit tight for the next 30 odd minutes. There are more bins, more pills will be spilled out, and then you know exactly how you need to approach your application, what you need to keep in mind, and how you need to be ready post your MBA offered by these universities. Yeah. So moving on to the next concern, which has been listed. So we talked about analyst role, but now we also have listed on middle management compression. AI is flattening corporate hierarchies. The traditional MBA fast track to middle management is compressing. The MBA must now fast track to senior leadership, not just management. What is your take, Oliver?
I'm not so convinced on this one, to be honest.
Mm-hmm.
There, by coincidence, I was reading an article today in about the latest set of redundancies in Germany and how it was targeting middle management actually,
Mm-hmm.
rather than entry level. Entry level was being excluded. This was seen as necessary. Senior leadership, fine, they look after themselves, I guess. Middle management is an opportunity for streamlining, cutting some dead weight, people who aren't up to scratch with newer technologies, how to manage in a new ecosystem. Uh, but it was also interesting to see that this isn't to do with AI. This happens every time. Every time that an industry has some good years, companies grow, they grow fat, people get older and they move up in seniority, and you sustain a certain amount of dead weight or like excess weight in your company, and it's simply healthy that every 2 or 3 years a company needs to look at their workforce and say, yeah, we need an efficiency drive. Where don't we need this slightly unproductive middle management or uh, even not just middle management, but maybe there are divisions, areas of business where it just doesn't make sense. We've been going along with it because that's just what we have. Companies, and you'll learn this in an MBA. There are constant cycles within companies, irrespective of the market, where they need to like shave dead weight. They need to become lean. Many of these, especially publicly listed companies, they need to keep focusing on their returns, on their profit margins, return for investment, and that comes with this constant cycle of getting rid of dead weight. I don't think it's because of AI. AI is definitely involved in everything. Is definitely a trigger to say companies are changing, uh, but they should be doing this anyway, and they are.
Okay, so on that side, now they get an additional tool to say, get out of my company. You are overweight now, and because of
Yeah,
AI, we are streamlining. That's the easiest,
yeah,
punching bag in the hand now.
yeah. There's also this an interesting phenomenon in corporate cultures and how companies grow. That, and I'm sure this will sound familiar to many people, where you look at a company, look at the company you're in, and you'll see that there are people loyal to a company. There'll be different proportions here, but there'll be the loyal group who are talented and loyal and really driven, and you want to keep hold of them, and they stay for a long time. And then there are the talented people who aren't so loyal, or they just have different ideas, and they're the ones who they get hired, they can find a new job easily, and they do. And then there's the group who are actually not so they're not so employable. They're probably lucky to have the job at that pay level that they've got, and so they sit on it. And after 2, 4, 6 years, they're still sitting there in the same company, may or may not have had some promotions. They probably aren't the best person on the market, but they know it and they're staying put. And as you go year after year, that group slowly gets bigger because
Mm, mm,
talented people who are loyal move upwards, talented people who are not loyal move outwards, and you're left with this growing midsection. So it's important to say, okay, we need to slim down here. We need to create space for the talent again. And that's what the likes of Goldman and McKinsey do. That's why it's such a brutal first couple of years.
mm.
They really give a brutal work-life balance to a large number of, or not so large anymore, but the incoming staff make their life hell for a few years, and then maybe people drop out of their own accord, or they're pushed out, or they get to the end of the 2, 3 years and you've not earned your promotion, you might be good at your job, but you've not earned a promotion, therefore you're out anyway. And that's what they do. It's brutal. That's why consultants have a short shelf life.
Mm, mm, mm. So
As
guys,
you can see,
yeah.
actually, I mean, for your audience, Sumit, people can see. I've been doing this for 25 years. I've been at four different universities. You mentioned Frankfurt School, where I was the vice president and CMO. So I was dealing with incoming applicants and outgoing graduates and what happens to them. But you catch me at an interesting moment where, for the last 3 years, I have no loyalty to any given school. So you really are getting an unfiltered view on what happens in this market and how the
Yeah,
companies work.
yeah.
I'm
No,
also
that's
happy to take
absolutely,
questions if anyone wants to push back. I'm happy
yeah,
to
yeah.
take it on.
Super. So I think this is a very unfiltered, as Oliver said, raw input which you are getting with regards to what these consulting companies are doing, what is happening around AI, who survives, who gets in, who moves up the ladder. So a lot of those things I think are getting really well defined. So yes, I will open up for one question right now. Who, if there is somebody who would like to ask a question, they can just unmute and straight away put the question here itself, and then we continue. Okay, I think seems more or less everybody is convinced what you are saying at the moment in terms of what is happening around, and they actually are taking it deep in terms of how it's going to be moving ahead. Super. So I think the last concern which has been listed here, I'm sure there are many, but then for the sake of our presentation, the fourth is ROI pressure increasing with AI augmenting roles previously requiring MBAs. The payback period for the MBA investment is under scrutiny. Schools that don't integrate AI credibly are seeing applications drop.
Yeah. I would say you've got two different things mixed up here. The
Mhm.
first sentence is true, and the second is wrong.
Okay.
Uh,
Okay.
this the fact that if schools don't integrate AI credibly, they're seeing applications drop is not factual. That's not what's happening.
Okay.
Uh, so the payback period is absolutely under pressure. This is when we look at the graduate outcomes, the speed of employment for graduates coming out of European MBAs. Um, how quickly do they find jobs within 3 months, within 6 months? What proportion of the class get jobs? And more importantly, what proportion of the class get jobs that they're happy with and are good for ranking purposes later? Those
Mm.
numbers are all looking worse than they have for years. Uh, and that is not a direct connection to AI, but it's, as we've mentioned before, it's definitely is woven into the mix. There's AI is definitely having an impact, but there's other reasons why the job market is bad. There's all sorts of geopolitical nonsense going on at the moment. There have been energy crunches, supply chain disruption. There's also issues in Europe with the lack of investment in some core economies where they had like a couple of decades of really good times where they spent the money on probably the wrong things, didn't sort themselves out, and now they're suffering. And then there's growing competition from China. I mean, it's not AI so much as EVs. I mean, that's the electric vehicles have really had a big impact on Europe. All of these car producers who didn't get on the bandwagon quick enough, or the electric vehicles they're producing are simply too expensive. And China has come in and is really undercutting on many of these topics. So none of which is directly AI. And the second thing is that schools that don't integrate AI credibly, um, this is definitely a topic, uh, but not everyone wants AI integrated into their MBA. And there's actually quite a bit of pushback in the market that you should acknowledge AI, you should adjust your assessments to take. take account of AI being used, but it doesn't mean everyone wants to be in a program where AI is used to deliver it, or you're forced to do modules on AI, or you have to learn how to manage your own Hugging Face LMMs or whatever it happens to be. Not everyone wants that angle. There's plenty of people who still say, fine, but don't use AI to teach me. That's not where I want my career to go.
But
And yeah, the
then,
schools that aren't
yeah.
integrating AI, actually it's the reason applications are dropping is mostly because of the lack of job opportunities in the local market. That is number one. Countries with worse employment or higher unemployment numbers, they're suffering. The ones who have issues with crime at the moment, there's some countries where there's like an acknowledged anti-foreigner reaction.
Hmm.
There's and there's also issues with visas. I mean, countries that are just capping the number of visas, capping the amount of accommodation available, like in the Netherlands, the UK,
Big crisis.
restricting family visas. There's all sorts of like political things going on as well that is forcing applications down that are more important. So yeah, I don't think there's a direct line there between AI and the application drops. Not yet.
Hmm. Hmm. Yeah, but I think just going back to your point, for the schools who are still not seeing themselves ready for AI, or they are still taking time, how would they then justify having a cohort who has paid probably 100,000 euros for the program,
Mm.
and then how are they promising them back with the jobs? Because the market is talking around the
Mm.
people who have adopted these AI skills, or while they were doing an MBA, or things like this. How do they giving the promise back to these students, to this cohort, that don't worry, we haven't taught you with AI, we have taught you real or whatever. We have still kept your critical thinking going. Don't worry,
Yep.
go out, you will have the job. Is this for real?
Mm. So I mean, you've got this subtle kind of assumption within the question that companies are hiring AI, if not experts, but people with affinity to AI.
Mhm.
And actually, what you'll see from all of the data is that while companies want students who are competent with AI tools, they're hiring for more and more human skills.
Hmm.
So actually, what the companies are looking for are people who have proven ability to uh, assess information, to process information with their own brain, and to control and to be one step ahead of AI. If they wanted to hire an AI expert, they wouldn't necessarily be going to an MBA.
Hmm.
And I think that's a key distinction here is that there are plenty of programs you could do which are AI specialist programs that require a first degree in computer science or similar, engineering. And companies would go here to get their AI experts, but that what they need is managers who are competent at using AI tools, understand the theory, understand business transformation, but they're expecting business schools to basically integrate AI in such a manner that they can still develop all the human skills. You need to counter AI, actually. That's what you're being asked to do. Counter AI's influence and still deliver those human level thought processing skills that you always used to deliver, but within a new environment, and prove that you've done it. And actually, what
So if
school students should be looking at the schools and saying, well, how how am I going to learn to use different tools within this environment, but also can you prove to me that companies are still coming to hire your graduates? That's really the issue, because companies will keep hiring if the graduates are as good as they used to be. So forget a little bit about AI and getting jobs in companies because of that. Then the question is, how do you justify the ROI? Are the companies still coming? Are they still hiring? What's happening?
and they are still paying the same amount as they've been been known for over the years. I think that's where
Yeah.
this real ROI question would come. So I think here then we have these we have talked a lot on that, probably on the bit of a negative side of AI. Let's talk about something which has been listed. We call it an opportunity, what AI amplifies, and we'll have a kind of a quick view from Oliver around what has been written on this. AI fluent leaders are scarce. So boards, not just
Mhm.
tech teams, now need AI strategy. MBAs who graduate with genuine AI literacy command significant premium. McKinsey AI practice can't hire fast enough. That's the first,
Mhm.
probably a good or a positive statement to verify.
Mhm. I Yeah, I would say I'm 80% on board with this. There's I mean let's deal with that McKinsey AI practice topic. Yes, you're right. Uh, McKinsey's AI practice can't hire fast enough. Partly because AI is such a buzzword for consulting projects, and McKinsey are top of the game. So yeah, they need really talented people on that with really solid expertise. And the word that bugs me here is the word literacy,
Mhm.
because McKinsey aren't trying to hire people with genuine AI literacy. They're trying to hire people with AI expertise. They need that expert level, people who are not just able to think strategically and understand the application, but are also people who know how to do it, who are really hands-on, have got that knowledge, that skills, that foundation, as well as all of the additional skills. That's where the premium is. So if you come through and you can say, "Hey, I'm AI literate. I know how to use various different tools." Well, literacy is like the minimum expected for many management roles now. It's not a premium; it's the minimum.
It's the minimum.
So yeah, you've got to be a
So,
lot better to get into that significant premium group.
mm, mm. And that's where the next statement is human judgment at a premium. Stakeholder
Yeah,
management,
that's
ethical decision making, cross cultural negotiations. AI cannot replace this. European
mhm.
MBAs are specifically built around these skills. So
Yeah.
this is so true, is it?
This is completely true. Yeah, and it's also that blend of those 2 points
Right.
to take
So,
AI expertise and human judgment. That blend is where the premium lies.
mm,
So again, if you
so
take the second one, the human judgment element, you take all of that. Well, that's in
yeah,
theory what MBAs should have been delivering for the last 100 years, and that was a premium, although diminishing as more and more people did MBAs. But there's still a premium uh, on these human judgment skills. But now you need literacy as well.
right, right. So I think it's very true, and so the way the students probably need to prepare for these MBA programs in Europe, you got to come with some experience for sure. So most of those students are from tech background, engineers, computer science
Mhm.
graduates, worked in an industry for 3, 4 years, 5 years now, adopted to new, we call it literacy on AI and everything around that, and now moving into doing an MBA, which sort of have, if you go to the top places, they have incorporated this AI curriculum. Even so, that's one probably your choice of place to go. The second is, of course, the places who have not yet adopted MBA, but they are still within the market and doing reasonably well. And as Oliver said, that not every company is only hiring somebody who knows AI. You have a great MBA from, let's say, Oxford, Cambridge, or Warwick or wherever, but you have a good judgment, human judgment, human instinct, some of those things which cannot be replaced, you would still get hired. But then when you add this up with your own literacy, knowledge, and expertise in the current scenario of AI, I think you become highly premium in the market. And that is what I think Oliver is trying to get through to our audience, that this is how you need to see an MBA. MBA is not a foregone opportunity right now. but rather it is an opportunity which lies ahead of you if you adopt uh, your AI knowledge, literacy, expertise, but at the same time you retain your human expertise as well. And that is where I think the companies will pay a lot of premium to your profile and pick you up. And that's where I know my next statement is new MBA roles emerging: chief AI officer, AI strategy lead, AI
Mhm.
ethics advisor, AI product owner. These roles exist now and require business plus AI fluency. Classic MBA plus AI skills is exceptional fit. And I think that's what I probably just summarized. Maybe
Mhm.
Oliver, you want to add on this? Maybe some more
Yeah.
roles which comes in your mind. Yeah,
Yeah. I mean, I think it draws on the comment you made at the beginning, the fact that many students come with a technical background from India. Uh, this is an important thread because, especially in Europe, MBAs were designed for people with experience. The US always targeted a younger group who often didn't bring much to the table.
correct.
But European MBAs looking for 3+ years experience, the average age was between 28 to 30 for many programs. So, and the MBA is not designed to wash away all the previous skills and knowledge and then train you on something new. It was like a refinement. It was refining the human skills to go into senior management later. And that's where, when I'm looking at some of these roles, these are new roles. Uh, they probably wouldn't go. Maybe the AI product owner that might go to someone who's got an AI or an engineering computing specialist master's degree. But yeah, many of the others are designed for people who have both the technical pre-experience who can go a lot further than the average AI manager user, but they need the MBA to hold down that senior position, especially the chief AI officer. A combination of an AI plus a strong technical background, and the MBA and a strong technical background that really fits nicely into a chief AI officer. But also, just to be clear though, manage expectations. These aren't jobs straight after an MBA. This is
Absolutely
jobs
not.
to aim for 5 to 10 years down the road.
Yep. Probably then these roles would have been already redefined by the time it's 5 years or 10
Yes.
years after you complete your MBA. So these are some of those title roles which you can already imagine right now. Somebody who probably would get the expertise and literacy around AI probably move into these roles. Being probably 15 years into the industry or same industry, they will be promoted or qualified to these next level of let's say fancy titles on AI, which could be looked at. For the starters, your expertise, your skills, and your human touch would play a very good role in getting your place in an industry which is largely, which probably everywhere is getting impacted by the advent of AI. But there is a mixed uh, both sides. There is an adoption, there is a pushback also, there is a middle path which people, companies, and schools are adopting. You need to find your own, and selecting an MBA program with that understanding plays a critical role. And how do you select it? Where do you find it? Is where you come to ZGen, and that's where we sit together with you and help you to figure out that perfect program based on your expectation, your aspirations, and what you should pick up, which will fit well in probably for the next 5 years as a part of your career planning. Last but not the least on this slide is European schools are responding. We checked already in the beginning: IMD AI curriculum, Bloomberg INSEAD AI and business transformation track, IE School of Science and Technology integration. The best schools are moving fast. Oliver, any thoughts around how are the German schools responding to this opportunity of AI or adoption of the curriculum at German business schools?
Yeah, I would say probably a bit slow, to be fair.
Like
Uh,
Germans.
yeah, I mean the German MBA market is quite small. So if you think about the kind of the recognized top group of schools in Germany, was it Mannheim, ESMT, WHU? uh, Leipzig, Frankfurt School. Maybe we could count EBS in that group for number six. Uh, we're still talking about 250 to 300 students, which is the same size as, say, ESA, or in fact, ESA's MBA. They're one of the top schools, and they're bigger. They're bigger than the entire top German market. So it's a very small world in Germany, and yeah, it's not moving as quickly as some of the others. Yeah, I mean, ESA is one you've left off the list there. They just completely redesigned their whole MBA curriculum to include AI on every single module. Uh, if you love that, then it's perfect for you. But you may also find it's too much AI as well. It's supposed to be an MBA.
Correct. And for whatever reasons, they have the maximum premium these days in the market. Uh, So
Yes.
for audience, EBS is European Business School, which is near in Österreich-Winkel, which is near Frankfurt, 50 kilometers of Frankfurt. That's the school number six, what Oliver is talking about. So good place, good choice overall. But yes, as he said, too much of AI is again decision of the students, how much of AI and how the market is responding. But good to know that there is an adoption, little slow, but there is an adoption. Germany, because of their other parameters, other advantages. A lot of students from India are still coming to Germany. They recently just introduced another test before APS, which is now a digital master's test for all the students who are coming for masters from science and technology and management background. They need to now write this test before they get accepted with APS, and then they get accepted to the school and whatnot. So this is another layer which has been just added 2 days back. So yes, plan it. The future, of course, is more or less, inviting as what we've been hearing and talking about Germany, that yes, there are opportunities lies. Don't forget about the German language. This is the biggest which you need to do, but at the same time, the opportunity lies. You have a right skill, the German market respond to the right skill people. But if you go as a generalist and then start figuring out the jobs, you still might find yourself, ending at a McDonald's or somewhere, in a store working. So that's something which you should be very aware and clear about, that why you are coming to Germany for an.
Probably also
Okay.
worth thinking
Yeah.
about the job markets. One of the reasons that Germany is still attractive, in spite of everything else that's going on, is that it's got one of the lowest unemployment rates in Europe. Even though
Correct.
the Germans are complaining about unemployment rate increasing, there's only two European Union countries better than them, and that's Poland and Bulgaria. So everywhere else actually has a worse employment market than Germany. So it is a great place to go and do your MBA. If Europe's your goal, then Germany has to be up there at the top.
Yep. Yep. I did this 20 years back, so I still choose Germany 20 years back to do my MBA, and in many senses it has paid me back very well. So of course now it's done AI and everything what you can all carry along. Good place eventually, to do your MBA. Totally aligned with Oliver on this. Okay, so I think a bit of on the cost side, these are the top six MBA programs which we have listed: NCR, LBS, HEC, ESC Barcelona, IMD versus US MBA versus Indian IM, MBAs. The duration you can look at, leave aside US and India, which is like 20-24 months. Everything looks pretty within the range of 10 months to 15 and 16 months. Cost wise, you need to be aware. Okay, these are costs calculated in Indian rupees, but we are talking about for all the top five, we are talking about more than 100,000 US dollars in tuition cost, what has been listed here at the moment. And these are the salaries which you can see little bit up and down, but then this is the salary and this is the break even time period which you could look at. And when you compare this, what is happening with Indians who have completed their programs here, it looks largely stable and probably rock solid in terms of Indian alumni at NCR, at LBS, at HEC Paris, in Barcelona, IMD, good profile, uh, good stuff going on for Indians who have done their MBA from these places. Well placed and good return on investment within the next 24 to 36 months. Compared to US, we're talking about harder H-1B risk. This continues, as I said, Trump bump. This will continue, and not 100% sure when this is going to get over with, but that is the cost. A 2 year with 2.5 to 3 CR, depending on the top-notch MBA program you do, and then the post MBA salary. So regardless, even if you don't enter into the top-notch MBA program, even if you do a decent MBA program costing you probably $40,000-$50,000 for the program, the return on investment is a big question mark at the moment because of H-1B raise, because of companies sponsoring you. And very recently, what we are hearing that the OPT and CPT system would also be scrapped by the Trump government. So no mandatory stay back, no mandatory work permit possible. You will have a very clear duration which you need to fill in where when you apply for your program, you finish your study, you come back to your country. And I think that's the regulation which US government is bringing currently, and that would even be more scary for a lot of students opting for US studies. And not only true for MBA, this is true for a bachelor's, master's, across the possibility. Even the PhD one are going to get hit with this regulation, is what I've been informed within the circle. Compared to Indian MBAs, the only problem with Indian IIM ABCs is they are very hard to get, and you all know how to crack the cat and how many seats we have in these places, and how many number of students apply for these exams, and then what is a percentile. So if you have 99 percentile or 98 percentile, you probably will get a call from IIM Ahmedabad or Bangalore, but you have a 93, 94 percentile, which is like as still is a great percentile if you talk about European or US standards. In India, 93, 94 percentile will not get you an admission to IIM ABC, what we are writing down here. So only the top of the top gets in, rest of the one flows into different schools, and then different schools is an average start, average life, and then you have to work equally hard that ways to go up to the ladder to come to that salary command, which has been listed here in the European market, 70,000, 80,000, 200,000 euros or pounds. So that's the choice. That's the distinction you need to make. Starting with an average salary and average life in India versus probably a better salary and a good quality of life at these European markets, of course, comes at a cost, but then that cost is financed by the banks, and the return on investment is within 12 to 18 months if you are now able to adopt these new age technology, which we are talking about, in terms of how the market is moving, how the companies are behaving. So choice is yours. Get one-on-one discussion with us to have your personalized plan ready around MBA. Happy to do it for all the students who are present here tonight. Okay, a bit of for Indian students, we're talking about your profile benchmark. This is what we are talking on the GMAT side for these top MBA programs, 680 to 730. I think the focused MBA is going to be in picture, but then this is the average score converted from the focus to what you should be looking at. Then we're talking about 700 plus GMAT for these top places. Work experience 4 to 7 years. Background, IT, consulting, finance. These are the people who are more likely to get into the acceptance, the job market. And then if you have a degree from these IITs, IIMs, then they are all, preferred choices for these top schools to accept. IELTS, TOEFL, English would be required, would be necessary. And then you have your own story of leadership, quantified impact, clear by MBA, by now, by here. So all these essays around needs to be written. Funding, look for a scholarship. That's the first thing. Scholarships are available. If you're not looking for a scholarship, probably if you don't get a scholarship, look for the loans available in the market for these top-notch MBA programs. They are funding up to 1 CR to 1.5 CRs for these top-notch MBA programs. So funding is not an issue for you. It's only getting the entrance with the right profile. If you are able to, then no problem on the funding side. Third is on the application timelines. If you're targeting September 27, then your application and preparation starts now with July itself. GMAT prep is the best and the biggest hurdle which you need to cross, and then round one of application starts in September itself. So there are 3 to 4 rounds of applications across these B schools. You need to keep those rounds in mind, and accordingly you should then plan your application strategy in a way that If you are not able to fill into round one, then go into round two. But I think do not wait until the last round, because then the seats are very limited in that case, and then your acceptance would probably be, you would find yourself into a spot of bother in terms of acceptance at that last round. Then we have application visas and all, which needs to be, time really well for your September 27 applications. So again, which school for which goal? So if you are looking for consulting, go global consulting, go to INSEAD, LBS, HEC, McKinsey, BCG, Bain, Recruit. These are the recruiters for these top consulting roles. If we're looking for finance banking programs, then LBS, INSEAD, HEC, London ecosystem is unmatched. General management strategy, you can go to IESC, IMD, HEC Paris. Tech AI product is where, IE Business School, Imperial, Cambridge, Judge. These are the places if you are looking at something around tech and AI related MBA. And the entrepreneurship side is INSEAD, HEC Paris, and Cambridge Judge. So these are the differentiation in terms of what you want to achieve in and where you want to work in your career, and which are the likely companies who would hire you for these roles from which school. So that is a part of the overall career planning which we do for our students. Serious enough, come by, discuss your plan with us. Happy to give your full strategic plan and approach with the timelines which you should not miss. Okay, what admission committees actually want in 2026? Essays, GMAT, and interview reality. Probably I would pick in, rather than reading from this here, this is standard stuff. I would probably pick in from Oliver here. Oliver, because you've been on the committee of a lot of these admissions for an MBA. Now we are in 2026. Apart from these essays, GMATs, international experience, what are those some of those key areas which these top B schools would look at into the candidate, apart from the standard practice?
Uh, yeah, aside from the standard, I mean, it's true that admissions are changing. So you probably going to see this reduction in the number of schools asking for any sort of essay, whether personal statement, written case study essays. There's also schools dropping off the references just because it's all becoming so meaningless.
Yeah.
So it's not necessarily that they're going to look for something different, but it just shows that the weighting is probably more focused on communication skills as well as how you interact, how you actually work with other people. So those that do assessment center events, the case studies, that really matters. So you take a look at IMD, for example. Great example where they're bringing people on board. They'll have all the paperwork, they've got all the basics in place, but now let's see really, can you actually interact? Can you lead? Can you drive? Can you listen? Like listening is a very underrated skill, and that's actually what a lot of people are looking for now. That ability to listen, think, and provide meaningful responses. So we're coming back down to, well, human skills are getting even greater weighting in the admissions process.
So I think then the interview will play a very, very critical role in the selection process of these
Absolutely,
applicants, how they
absolutely.
present them. So that's where you need to be prepared well, apart from these all standardized GMAT and everything else around that. So great. Okay. Okay. So that's the point which you need to keep in mind, and how to prepare that. Again, come to Zgen. We will help you understand uh, that human side, and most importantly, the case studies of some achieved goals over the past couple of years which we have done, and we are able to explain those case studies well, where you have solved critical problems. I think that's where these admission committees would look at more closely at your application process and standard submission. Okay. Okay, so again, this we cover. I think we kept this slide as well for you, but leave aside the region side. But let's see focus areas tonight. AI and the MBA in Germany. We already had that answer. Probably slow. Do you want to add something more on this, Oliver?
No, I think we covered a lot of different things there.
We have covered that. German industry perspective around the adaptation of AI
Mm,
in MBA. How is the industry looking?
yeah.
German industry, let's say,
So
to be specific.
yeah, I mean we've got three different types of companies there, haven't we? I mean, there's SAP on the more on the tech, Siemens with the whole range of a lot more engineering, and BMW Automotive, where
Automobile.
maybe automotive is not the place to look right now in terms of MBA hires.
Hmm.
Uh, the Yeah, I mean, as an MBA going through Germany, I mean, I think you also have to be broader rather than looking at just the kind of the large companies who may have hired like not even the majority of MBAs in Germany. They've always preferred these three companies have always preferred engineers. They've always preferred PhDs. So you need to think about up and coming companies. Like for those of you that know NA10, NA10 is like a rapidly growing company. So if you do have the technology and you've lent into AI and you've got the MBA skills, some of these new rapidly growing companies, uh, or N26, which is in banking, or looking at all sorts of technology startups, and that's where Berlin is a great place to go.
Hmm. Hmm.
If you were to go over to ESMT and you've got access to a lot of innovative companies over there, you're not thinking necessarily of these old school multinationals, which may actually not be the best place for your career at the moment. Have a look at the startup community, at the mid-sized companies, the innovative companies. There's a lot more opportunity in that direction.
Are they paying well to MBAs, the startups?
Uh, Depends. Depends. If you're really looking at the startups, then don't be surprised if the base salary is lower. There'll be variable rates and there'll be equity offers. There'll be all sorts. It really depends on the age and the success of the company.
But can they go lower than the benchmark rates by the government for an MBA?
No, I mean, do the no. I mean, they can't go lower than the kind of the minimum wages for sure. Uh, Benchmark rate for an MBA, I don't think that necessarily exists. It's not a hard cutoff that if you have an MBA, you must get paid X.
No? For
No.
masters and all those professions, they do exist, no? The standard
Yeah.
rate, 60,
It's
70K. Uh,
yeah, no. I mean, it totally depends on the type of company. I mean, just because you've done a master's doesn't guarantee you a 60, 70K salary. That's just, it doesn't work that way.
okay. So another bit of a tip, guys, keep that in mind with respect
Yeah.
to the benchmark rates versus, the clarity that
There's a,
you may get hired differently purely based on your skills
exactly.
and then with the notion that, okay, you have an MBA, this is the bare minimum you will get. Not happening that way.
Yeah.
Probably you get a lot
Nothing
more
is
depending.
guaranteed in life. Tax and deaths,
Yes.
that's your guarantee.
So what about European MBA versus German masters or German MBAs? Which one you will pick?
Mm. So I still think Germany is a very tasty market for international students. So on the one hand, it's quite a young market. It doesn't have the biggest programs. It doesn't have the best ranked programs. But and if you look over at the UK, France, and Spain, far more famous, large scale, and multiple MBA programs and business schools. Germany also has a disadvantage in that it's very important you speak German. Uh, it significantly improves your opportunities for getting a job at the end. However, uh, Germany is still Europe's biggest economy, and just the simple reality of the biggest economy with the lowest unemployment rates, in spite of whatever other problems are happening, I would still rather be here than in France or Spain, or especially rather than the UK at the moment. I think that's how I would look at it. It's not there's like a yes no to Germany. It's like how do you maximize your attractiveness to German recruiters? There are opportunities. It's just tougher right now, that's for sure. So don't be one of the weakest candidates. Don't be the one who has zero German language skills and no relevant experience for the jobs you're applying to. You need to come with a decent package to get ahead of the game.
Very clear statement, friends. Germany is still the place to come. A lot of opportunities, but with a very clear path and understanding in terms of what is being needed by the company, and do you have that? Come with that clear distinction. Uh, Future of business education. How do you see that in next 5 years? I think that was one of those headline topic: MBA or no
Yeah. This is $1 million question, isn't it? 5 years. Uh, I think there's going to be a cleaning up of the industry. There'll be institutions that go out of business. There'll probably be some new universities, new programs that are fully online that appear. Um, there'll also be a move towards more and more part-time and online study rather than full-time experience. So that's a trend that's going to keep moving. But I also think there's a clear desire of people, especially after going through COVID, and now going through all of this all of the AI slop that you're getting delivered. There is a return to the core of, if I'm paying this amount of money, I want a real human experience on campus, human learning and engagement. Don't just deliver slides. Don't just deliver AI generated content. Don't push me into online experiences. I want it old school. Otherwise, what's the point of me coming at all? If you're not going to teach me properly with a human, well, then I can just stay at home in India or wherever and get free or next to free online knowledge with AI delivering everything and coaching me. So I think there's going to be this rationalization that if a school and a program wants to survive, they're going to have to double down on the human experience.
Correct. The schools needs to constantly evolve over the next 5 years. How they
Absolutely.
do the human teaching.
Yeah. And that was actually something that even so I left Frankfurt School 3 years ago. And before I quit there, I was already telling people that, especially with our part-time students, if you're bringing working professionals on campus for a part-time MBA, you have to make the time on campus worth their while. Otherwise, they're going to complain. They're
Correct.
busy, they're working, they've got careers. They are willing to commit 3, 5, 10 days at a time to really be there in person. But the moment they sense that their time is being wasted, they get really annoyed and then they start complaining. And that's a growing trend. Universities need to learn to make better use of students' time.
So everything will be evaluated based on these possibilities. I think India would still be adopting it probably 10 more years before we see this
Mhm.
mega changes happening. Well, all the international business branch campuses are here now. 20 of
Mhm.
them have opened up or got the licenses to operate. This needs to be seen as an area where it is getting developed. Again, the universities from UK and Australia, these are the one dominating the space for IBCs. No other European stuff at the moment. But let's see, because I think these are the people who are big pockets, spending around $20 million to have this set up in India. And only time will see that how this develops. And they haven't brought any MBA programs though on the campus. It's all technical and some management programs, bachelor's and masters. That's what they're going to offer. The first cohort starts and goes live this year, I think, this September. So that would also be seen how it develops. And then I think for Indians, again, keep adopting, keep looking at the news, at the information, have the proper planning done before you pick up your MBA. And I think that's the key. That's the message coming out from Oliver. Uh, AI will be adopted in the curriculum. You need to be clear what you are getting as an ROI from the program. Companies are hiring with right skill, human plus and a tech knowledge or an AI adaptation. Those are the jobs. Those are the key areas which are available. There are companies hiring people with lot of human expertise and less of AI as well. So those jobs are as well. For example, in engineering, for example, in automotive industry, the hiring will happen on these lines as well. So you need to continue to have these opportunities. Very clear distinction coming from Oliver that Germany is still the place in Europe if you want to pick it up. Good economy, lowest unemployment, jobs possibilities are there. Come with the great mindset, great track, and you will find yourself, your life, settled and available in Germany. For all these discussions and all, connect with us, with my team 101. Zijan is right there helping and putting these topics in place. We'll be very, very happy to put this perspective for all of you. And I will, on this note, probably open up for a question before I say goodbye to Oliver, because I think this is probably the last slide. This is a self-assessment thing which we will do. But for Oliver, I think this is where I think the time is valuable, and he has given us a good input, good time today on the session, giving a lot of insights around the MBA and how the industry is responding, how the university is responding, how the industry is behaving around this. This is something which you all need to be now aware of. You have this information and now use it to the best of your advantage. Any questions which any one of you would have for Oliver, please unmute yourself one by one and ask. Any questions? Okay, so I think then on this note, I would say thank you, Oliver, for joining in tonight. Very, very insightful information which you presented to our audience. I think they got all accepted, understood the possibilities for them, how to move ahead. All this has been delivered tonight. Thank you so much for your participation, and we look forward to have you in more topics very soon. Thank you.
Thanks, Sumit. Thanks, Oliver. Very insightful session. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Brajesh. Oliver, you would like to probably give a last statement to all the MB audience, which is probably present here tonight.
A last statement. I mean, it's yeah, don't take anything for granted. I mean, I know from experience that people start an MBA in a great market and then they graduate into a crisis. Or if you're starting now in a crisis and you graduate, the world can be very different, but it's always going to be competitive. It's going to be competitive, and the more you can do now to improve and gain new skills, I take it. You don't have to already go overseas, and you don't have to wait to the start of an MBA before you learn something new. So get going now. Read, consume information. Read the Financial Times every day. Read The Economist. Read uh, well, Harvard Business. Whatever is your taste. Consume information. Learn languages. Learn technology. Be inquisitive. The more you start getting in that habit now, the better it's going to be later. And yeah, language. German,
Exactly.
French, Spanish. Pick up a new language. It's never a disadvantage.
Perfect. Perfect. Thank you so much, Oliver. On that note, we say goodbye to you. Thank you so much, and
Thank you.
I'm sure the audience is more enlightened, and they will look forward to planning their topics and MBA studies well. Thank you. Okay, my dear friends, this is our last slide, which we will continue to pick. This is European MBA right for you? Honest self-assessment. This is the slide. I think most of these thoughts given by Oliver already in what way you need to look at it, but now this is your own self-assessment. You want a global career, not just an Indian market, then look for an MBA. You have 4 to 8 years of strong experience. That's where then MBA in Europe would be very beneficial for you. Your GMAT score, 660 to 720 is what we are looking at. You want AI integrated management education. We just discussed all around AI integration at the moment, and then lastly, you can invest around this much of money, 1 crore or roughly around that to get a very nice top-rated MBA from the European market. Then you are right assessing yourself to come to Europe for this. On the other hand, if your goal is return, consider alternatives. If your goal is to return to India immediately after finishing your European MBA, that doesn't make sense to spend a crore of rupees because the ROI in India would not be as good as what you expect there. You are getting a below GMAT, 640 or so. Again, the top European MBA would not be there for you. You're looking for a 2-year deep dive program, then go to US or study in India because Europe MBAs are 10 months to 15, 16 months. You are targeting US career post MBA, go to US. Europe would not serve that purpose for you. And if you have an experience which is less than 3 years, then it dramatically reduces your chances to get into the top-rated MBA program, which we have talked in this session tonight. And that's it. That's it from my side. These are the 4 screenshots. Somebody who would like to assess themselves, go for psychometric test, join our MBA group, looking for predictability admits for you, then scan this QR code. And if any of you want to book a one-on-one call with me to get your planning done for an MBA program, click on this screenshot. Happy to get on a call with you and help you understand the entire strategy. That's it from my side. I'm here to take a couple of questions. If any of you have some questions, please go ahead. Shoot your question, write it down, or tell me straight away. Happy to answer those questions for you. Put it either in the chat or unmute yourself and you can ask anything around MBA or tonight's presentation. Any questions? Then if there are none, then I say thank you so much for a lovely audience. You've been a great audience tonight. Thank you with listening to our conversation with Oliver, with patience. And I hope you got a lot of understanding information around what needs to be done and how the AI is getting adopted, how the market is behaving. I think a lot of interesting insights we have captured. And some of these, I think, do make a lot of sense and should be adopted while you plan for MBA studies in the future. This is Sumit, your host tonight. Happy to help you further in your career if you plan to do an MBA. Thank you so much for tonight, and God bless you all. Bye-bye for now.
Good night. Thanks, everyone. Bye-bye.
Thank you. Thank you, everyone.